Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Quick Brick Games, where we cover all the latest in the LEGO video game series created by TT Games. And this time we got a bit of a different video here. We're going to be talking about the next-gen consoles, so the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X from Sony and Microsoft. So this past week they actually both had big reveals for the technical specifications of the next-gen consoles. And we're talking about these next-gen consoles and how they relate to LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, because as of right now, LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga is not confirmed for next-gen. It's just coming to this generation, so it's coming to PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC, and then Nintendo Switch. So it's not coming to PS5 or Xbox Series X as of right now, but it could be coming later on. So if the game comes out, in June, as we're predicting right now, then it could come out in November again on the next-gen consoles as like an updated version or something like that. But either way, it will be playable on the next-gen consoles because both of them are going to be backwards compatible. So we're going to be talking about the technical specifications and kind of which console I think is going to be better for LEGO Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga and really LEGO games in general. So I actually made a video similar to this back in like November or December. Back then the channel was a lot smaller, and we also didn't have near the information that we have now on the Xbox Series X or the PlayStation 5. So we got a lot more information, and the channel's way bigger, so a lot of you guys didn't see that old video. So I thought I'd make a part 2 to sort of the next-gen Skywalker Saga discussion video where we can kind of discuss the possibilities if TT Games decides to port the game to the new consoles. So to look at the technical specs of each console, I have this graph here from Eurogamer.net, so a link to this article will be in the description where this graph is found. And they kind of just lay out all the different specs of the next-gen consoles pretty easily here, and you can kind of compare which one's better. So we're going to be looking at this, and we're just going to go down the list and kind of analyze this here. So starting off with the CPU or processors, so we have an 8-core Zen 2 processor at 3.5 gigahertz, and then on the Xbox Series X we have the same thing except it's at 3.8 gigahertz. So we got a little bit faster speed on the Series X for the processor, so usually the processor has to deal with the frame rate, so we could see some more 60 FPS or possibly even 120 FPS games on the Series X in comparison to the PlayStation 5. So then for the graphics card, we have a 10.28 teraflop graphics card on the PS5, and then it's 12.16 teraflops on the Xbox Series X, so pretty significant bump there in the graphics on the Series X. And then the GPU architecture is exactly the same on both. The memory is exactly the same. It's 16 gigs of GDDR6, which is like a new standard. It's really fast RAM. So, and then the bandwidth is going to be a little bit different for the speed of the memory. So on the PS5 we have 448 gigabytes per second, and then on the Xbox Series X we have 10 gigabytes of that 16 is going to be at 560 gigabytes per second, and then 6 gigabytes of that 16 is going to be at 336 gigabytes per second. So some of it's faster, some of it's slower than the PS5. I went ahead and did a weighted average of the Series X memory, and it kind of, if you take the average of the 560 and the 336, you end up with around 476 gigabytes per second. So all in all, the Xbox Series X actually has faster memory than the PlayStation 5. So now moving on to internal storage. So the PS5 is going to have a 825 gigabyte NVMe SSD, and the Xbox Series X is going to have a 1 terabyte. So when you buy the Xbox Series X, you're actually going to be getting more storage than the PlayStation 5. So you're going to be able to store more games on there, more LEGO games. So then for the I/O throughput, so I'm not 100% sure what this means, but correct me if I'm wrong, someone who's into the more technical stuff that we're talking about in this video. But I believe this is essentially how fast the system can take data from the storage, so the SSD. So basically, when you're playing games, it has to get the data from the hard drive or the SSD. So I believe the PS5 can do this at 5.5 gigabytes per second raw, and then 8 to 9 gigabytes compressed. Not sure what the difference is there and what that means, but maybe one of you guys can explain it. Then the Xbox Series X is about half of that at 2.4 gigabytes per second raw and 4.8 compressed. So the PlayStation 5 is like almost twice as fast or twice as fast as the Xbox Series X in this instance. So it seems like the Xbox Series X might have slower loading times than the PlayStation 5, just based off of this, but I'm not 100% sure about that. But it seems to be the loading will be a little bit faster on the PS5. And then the expandable storage, we have a NVMe SSD slot on the PlayStation 5, so you can literally just plug in any SSD into the PlayStation 5 and it'll just work, so you can get a huge storage. With the Xbox Series X, you're limited to these specific expansion cards, these proprietary ones, so they can jack up the price because they're proprietary. And right now at launch, there's just going to be a 1 terabyte one, so you can have the 1 terabyte internal that comes with the Xbox Series X, and you can expand it with another terabyte expansion card. And that's pretty much it after that. So I don't know, they're probably going to come out with bigger expansion cards later on, but at launch it's just 1 terabyte. And now for external storage, we have USB HDD support on both, so you can just plug in any hard drive or external SSD into a USB port on either console and it'll just work. Now for the Xbox Series X, the external storage like that only works for backwards compatible games like Xbox One, 360, or original Xbox games. If you want to play the new Series X games, you're going to have to put it on that SSD. But anyway, so the optical drives are the same. They both have 4K Blu-ray drives. Then HDMI is the same, 2.1, and HDMI 2.1 is something that supports 4K at 120 frames per second, which is crazy, and even 8K. So that's kind of very future-proofing there. Most TVs don't even have HDMI 2.1 right now. Like, I can almost guarantee you the TV that you have at your house right now doesn't have HDMI 2.1. Like, I think LG, like only the top-end LG TVs have 2.1 right now, and maybe there's a few others, but it's very rare. So this is some kind of future-proofing stuff. So these consoles have to last, the next 7 years. So over the next 7 years, more and more people are going to be getting HDMI 2.1 TVs. Then the last thing here is probably the most important, backwards compatibility. So PlayStation 5 can play PlayStation 4 games, nothing more than that as of right now. They could change that later. And the Xbox Series X can play the select Xbox and Xbox 360 games that they've added to their backwards compatibility list, and they could expand that after the Series X launches to add more games, and then it'll be able to play any Xbox One game. And then of course the price of either hasn't been announced yet. So yeah, that's going to do it for the technical specs. So if you didn't understand any of that, I tried to explain it. But so let's relate this to LEGO Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga, and LEGO games in general. So again, I talked about this in another video, but essentially what these new consoles are going to mean is we're going to have faster loading times on LEGO Star Wars, which is going to be very important because we know Skywalker Saga is going to have a big open world with all these different planets that you can travel to. Like, you can supposedly just go from planet to planet, like travel into space. And I imagine there's going to be loading times in between these things, but if they created the Skywalker Saga game for the next-gen consoles, so with these new SSDs, especially on the PS5, because apparently that SSD is like insanely fast, like twice of the Series X even, based on that I/O throughput spec, you could really seamlessly just go between each world, each planet. Like, you could go from Coruscant to Tatooine, just fly between either one without a loading screen or just a very short loading screen. So that would be very helpful, because right now there's probably going to be a lot of loading screens, I imagine, on the consoles that the game's coming out for right now. And then the faster processor on both consoles, especially the Series X, is going to allow for higher frame rates. So the Series X actually supports 120 frames per second. I'm not sure if they could do that. Maybe they could have a 1080p mode where the game runs at 1080p and you get 120 frames. So that just means like super smooth gameplay. You're not going to experience any lag or anything like that. But I think the game could run at 4K 60 FPS on the Series X and PlayStation 5 for sure. So hopefully they do that if they do upgrade this game for the Series X and PlayStation 5. But overall, looking at the specs that we had from Eurogamer.net, so definitely the Series X does have a massive advantage over the PlayStation 5 from what we have so far. Now, the main thing is that I/O throughput, so it seems like the SSD can be accessed a lot faster on the PlayStation 5, but other than that, the Series X beats the PS5 in every other way. And the main thing I want to talk about in this video is backwards compatibility. So right now, if you go to Xbox's website, you can pull up all the backwards compatible games on the list right now, and they could expand this to later, but with the Xbox Series X being able to do backwards compatible back to 360 games and even original Xbox games. So right now on the list we have LEGO Batman, LEGO Pirates of the Caribbean, the video game, LEGO Star Wars 3, The Clone Wars, LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga, LEGO Batman 2, DC Superheroes, LEGO Indiana Jones, and LEGO Indiana Jones 2, LEGO Star Wars 2, the original trilogy. So I think that's like 8 games right there. So you're getting basically all the Xbox 360 LEGO games now. The only exception you have to this is you don't have the 2 Harry Potter games, Harry Potter 1 and 2, but you can get the remastered collection on Xbox One because the Series X is going to be able to play every Xbox One game, so you're going to get every single, current gen LEGO game, so like, the LEGO movie game, the LEGO Marvel Superheroes games, what else has come out, LEGO Star Wars The Force Awakens. You're going to get all those playable, plus these 360 games, and the only one you don't get, again, is Harry Potter 1 and 2, but they came out with a remastered collection on Xbox One, so you can get those. So really, if you break that down, the only 2 games you're missing is LEGO Star Wars the video game from the original Xbox, and if they start adding more backwards compatible games to their list, they could eventually add that one, so who knows. But really, you're not really missing that either, because you can play all those levels in the Complete Saga, which is backwards compatible. The only thing you're missing there is Dexter's Diner, I guess. And then, so really the only LEGO game that's completely not playable on the Xbox Series X is going to be LEGO Lord of the Rings, because for whatever reason, TT Games lost the legal license to make Lord of the Rings content, like The Hobbit or anything like that. So you won't be able to play LEGO Lord of the Rings, but other than that, pretty much every LEGO game since 2006 is going to be playable on the Series X, and hopefully eventually they'll add the original LEGO Star Wars video game, which is insane. Plus you're getting the higher specs, the higher CPU and graphics card and faster RAM, so you're going to get better performance on the Skywalker Saga. So if I had to make a decision, I am a little bit Xbox biased because I'm an Xbox player myself, but just objectively basing on how many backwards compatible games you're getting, and then just all the higher specs overall on the Series X, I'd have to recommend getting LEGO Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga on the Xbox Series X if the game does come to that. But even if it doesn't, you can get the Xbox One version, and it's going to be enhanced on the Series X to a degree. You're probably going to get way faster loading times and all the new features on the Series X. So I definitely recommend that. Now on the PlayStation 5, you're not getting a bad deal there either, and I'm sure there's going to be some benefits with playing LEGO Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga on PS5 in comparison to the PS4 version. But yeah, overall I'd recommend the Xbox Series X for playing your LEGO games if you're going console, because you're just getting a sheer amount of LEGO games, plus you're getting the better performance. It's just insane. Like, you can just play literally every single LEGO game except for Lord of the Rings in the original 2005 game. So that's pretty crazy. So overall I'd recommend that. So I just wanted to create this video to talk about the next gen consoles because we got both of this new information last week, and it's pretty exciting. I'm very excited to play LEGO games on the new Xbox. It's going to be very exciting. All the content for LEGO Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga is going to be on the Xbox One version, but once the Series X comes out, we're going to be playing the Series X. And TT Games, I hope you port the game over to the next-gen consoles to really take advantage of all the benefits, because even if they don't, again, we can play it through backwards compatibility on both the PS4 or on PS5 and the Xbox Series X. But it would be really nice if TT Games created a specific version of the game for the PS5 and Series X to take advantage of all the power. They could really just make everything seamless, remove all the loading screens using those SSDs, and man, it would be really awesome. So yeah, pretty exciting stuff. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. It's a little bit different, maybe it's a little bit too technical. Hope you guys enjoyed it anyway. Be sure to subscribe to be notified when all the newest LEGO content comes out. We're going to continue to cover these next-gen consoles and the different benefits that they could have in relation to the LEGO games, so that should be exciting. And be sure to like the video if you enjoyed it, and comment if you have anything to say. I'll see you guys next time.